we're in a situation where absurdly and ludicrously, a government is ridiculously claiming that it is interested in saving lives and protecting people's health, and is harassing a man with a health disability and dragging him into court because he refused to bend the knee to this tyranny. But also think about the fact that at the very height of this alleged pandemic, back in April, there was no talk of compulsory masks.
No.
In all of May, when the figures were dying away to nothing, there was no talk of compulsory masks. In June, when there were no cases virtually at all, there was no talk of compulsory masks. Now, when it's all but disappeared, it's gone. They are now bringing in compulsory masks. And the reason for that is they need visible evidence of terror.
Yes.
They need to create a visibility of the terror that they want to inculcate in the people. And that's why this is so important to them. These are really sinister people we're dealing with now. These are people that we previously thought of as people of our own kind, these politicians. But we have to start thinking of them now as alien beings, as hostile beings to the Irish people. They are the enemies of the Irish people. Clearly they are intent, because the mask is a way of denying the very human face of the person. It is a way of taking away the individual, unique humanity of each person and turning us all into zombies and restoring us to a kind of animal state, so that we no longer will look at each other coming down the street as Tom or Mick or Mary, my friend, my sister, my brother, but instead as a festering mess of bacteria and viruses, which is a danger to my health. I have to get out of the way. This is what they are turning the human person into. With this whole thing. I'm not saying that our people are responsible for thinking this up. They don't have the brains for that or anything. But this is what they're implementing. This is the thinking behind it, to destroy the spirit of the human person, the individuality, the personality, the conscience, the character of the human person. That is what this project is about.
Hey, Billy. What's happening, mate? Good to see a bit of sun, huh? After a few days of rain. Everything's wet. Hi folks. Well, they're really ramping things up here in Australia, moving things to the next level with stage 2 of the lockdown, as we knew they were going to. In Victoria, they are saying the state may be closed for 2 years, folks. Remember they asked us to quarantine for 2 weeks, 14 days, got to stay indoors for 14 days, social isolation, so that we can kill this virus. Now they're saying the borders may be closed for 2 years in Victoria. They're saying there are hot spots breaking out in New South Wales as well. So they're really pushing this whole concept, folks, and it'll come to Queensland as well. What they've said, predictably, as I said they were going to, is that the Black Lives Matter protests have caused the spike. That's what I said they were going to do. When I put out a show saying, I put out a show called Flipping the Focus, and I put out a show called Antifa and Plandemic 2, or Antifa and Pandemic 2, how they were going to use the Black Lives Matter protests to push the concept of the second wave. And that's what they're doing. Of course, it's been deleted from YouTube. You'll find it on BitChute still. But Queensland residents are being urged not to travel to New South Wales. And what they'll do is they will use the people who have got New South Wales-Queensland border passes. And they'll start isolating these people, and then the people that they've been associated with, they'll be able to do it through the contact tracing, through the smartphones. This is the way they're going to push it, folks. I would expect what they've done in Victoria to be coming to Queensland within the next 2 to 4 weeks, I would say, folks. Maybe 3 weeks. I'd say we'll see the stage 2 lockdown happen here in Queensland as well. It will probably start on the Gold Coast in Brisbane, because in Brisbane they had the big Black Lives Matter protests, and I'm still trying to find out if they even actually had that, or whether that was just media spin, because I still can't find anybody who went to that protest or who saw that protest. I did see articles in the newspaper about it, I did see photographs in the newspaper about it, but I didn't actually see anybody who went to it. I don't know anybody who went to it. And I wonder whether it was all just media spin. Certainly had a lot of rain here, folks. It's been raining here for a few days. I'm flooded in at the moment. It's a bit of change of topic for the time being. But yeah, a bit of rain going on. The yard next door turns into a creek when it starts raining. But yeah, so they're saying Victoria may be locked down for 2 years. They've also got the Australian Defence Force, and they're door knocking. People who have been seen as positive or been tested or whatever, they're door knocking. They'll ring people up a couple of times, and if you don't answer your phone, then they'll go and door knock, and they're sending the military around to do it with people.
There'll be some 28 teams of ADF personnel and authorised officers from the Department of Health. They will go out in the following circumstances. So one of those 300 people who's tested positive today, they are telephoned. They are telephoned again within a 2-hour period. If contact cannot be made with them via those 2 telephone calls in a 2-hour period, then ADF and authorised officers will be deployed to go and door knock those people and to conduct that interview on their doorstep, as opposed to doing it over the phone. It's not about making judgments about people being willing or otherwise. It's just a practical challenge. In any list of people that you ring, there will always be some that you can't get through to. This is about going that extra step to make sure that we can not just call, but we can connect and have that meaningful interaction, get that interview done, and then begin the process of tracing contacts. It goes without saying, though, if you were door knocked and you were not found at home, then you are in breach of the orders, because you are a positive case and you should be at home. So that would almost certainly lead to you being fined. So that's not the purpose of this, but if ADF and authorised officers, so Victorian Public Health staff, visit you and you're not at home, they'll continue to keep visiting you, but you'll have some very clear explaining to do as to why you are not at home, isolated, as you should be, because you have tested positive.
Interesting. Because so many people are testing positive. It's such a scam, folks. What they've done, I mean, the COVID-19 test, it just tests for genetic material, just testing for coronaviruses, and we all have coronaviruses in our bodies. You know, and they ramp up the testing right at the beginning of flu season, right as the seasons are changing and it's coming into winter, they quadruple the testing. And so now we see, a huge rise in positive cases. But even with the rise in positive cases, there's still a 99.9% survival rate. So how is it a pandemic when there's a 99.9% survival rate? All the people who are dying are people who are dying of all premorbidities, people in nursing homes, people in aged care homes, people over 75. A couple of people died in Victoria. They were in their 80s. Someone in their 90s died, and they're saying, it's COVID-19. I mean, everything's COVID-19 these days, folks. It's ridiculous. Everything is COVID-19. But they've done it by ramping up the tests right now in flu season. You know, and this is not going to go away, folks. The second lockdown, they may ease the second lockdown a little bit, and then the third one will be permanent, if the second one isn't permanent. I mean, they say 2 years. Are you serious? 2 years? After 2 years, it will be the new normal for people. They'll be used to it and it will never go away, if they can get away with it. And this mandating wearing of masks, There was also a report. I mean, I'm not a big InfoWars fan, but someone sent me a report from, I can't remember the guy's name, David Knight or Dan Knight, one of the InfoWars guys, where he talked about 5G technology, a report that came out by some European doctors which talked about the induction of coronavirus in skin cells through 5G technology. He put out a report about it. I'll play a little bit of it here.
Today, we have some amazing news, and actually I made it the title of the show today as we put this out. This is brought to me by Greg Reese. I don't know where he got this. It came from the NIH, from Fauci's NIH. And here's the title of this story. Study. 5G technology and induction of coronavirus in skin cells. Let me repeat that. 5G technology and the induction of coronavirus in skin cells. This is a study that was put together by some researchers in Italy, in Michigan, and in Moscow. So you have Italian, American, and Russian investigation into this. And I've been reading not just the abstract, but the research itself. And this is really groundbreaking, folks. This is happening on the same day, and we're going to have Eric Peters joining us later in the program. Eric was just, he's got an article, When They Flip the Switch. Eric was one of the sites because he does car reviews from a libertarian perspective. He's had a lot to say about the lockdown and the masking of Americans and so forth, the threat to our civil liberties. And so now they have flipped the switch. Basically, Google has flipped him off. And he's flipped off, and should be. You should be angry about this as well. But I looked at this and I thought, yeah, you know, they've flipped the switch on censorship. We have calls, more calls in the mainstream media for censorship about information that questions the presumptions about masks. I'm not even going to dignify it to call it science. The presumptions about masks, the presumptions about this flu, which is what it is.
I believe Jeff Berwick also picked up on this as well, that this report came out. I was actually looking at the report, I was reading it, and then I came back to the page about 10 minutes later, and the report had been withdrawn. Interesting. There wasn't any article put up there to say it was debunked. There wasn't any article put up there to say it was mistaken. Anything like that. It simply said the article had been withdrawn. What are you doing up there, Billy? Just sitting up in the tree. But I thought that was interesting that they would withdraw the article and simply make no comment about it at all, other than it's been withdrawn. And a few people picked up on it. You know, so you think about that. If they're ramping up the testing and all they're testing for is coronavirus, not COVID-19, but coronavirus, and coronaviruses are the common cold. I mean, you know, look at a bottle of Dettol. It's got coronavirus listed on the bottle of Dettol. So it's a very, very common virus, folks. If they've got this 5G that they're rolling out in places, and that can induce coronaviruses in people's skin cells, which could even simply be exosomes. If you look at Andrew Kaufman's work, coronaviruses and exosomes, you know, what they're identifying as COVID looks like an exosome. And, you know, this could be well produced in people's cells simply by the application of 5G radiation, could stress the cells out. They'll produce these exosomes, therefore they're going to identify positive for coronavirus or COVID-19. That's how you can manufacture this alleged pandemic with all these people testing positive. But again, the more people who test positive, the death figures aren't going up. And so, you know, they've got to say it's people in nursing homes and people in their 90s and people in their 80s, anybody who's dying, they're using anything they can to get the death figures that they need, and they're still incredibly low. You know, to have shut the entire country down over, you know, 106 deaths or 120 deaths or whatever it is now, it's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. And it's happening worldwide. You know, it's happening in every single country right around the world, lockstep. It is, it's not a random response. You notice the second wave has appeared all around the world at the same time. A remarkably clever virus, isn't it? Especially considering viruses are not alive, and they cannot be transferred the way they're telling us. You know, it's such a scam, folks. It's absolutely such a scam. The thing is, though, you know, and as I've been saying, it's a war that's being waged here, folks. It's a depopulation. It's a war. You think about what they've really done, you know, with the chemtrails and spraying, the nanotech, the barium, the strontium, the aluminium. There was a nurse. There was a nurse in the UK. She was talking about barium actually unfolds the hemoglobin in your body. Everything they've done, or it isn't the barium, it's the glyphosate in the food unfolds your hemoglobin. You look at the multi-pronged attack that we've been under, the chemtrails, the barium, the strontium, the aluminium that they've put into our bodies through the stuff we're breathing, the toxins in the food, the vaccinations, the glyphosate in the food, how this unfolds your hemoglobin. It literally, the aluminium literally breaks down your blood-brain barrier. So when you look at the tests they're doing with these swabs they're doing, which are going right in to touch your brain and hitting that blood-brain barrier, what are they really doing here? Are they opening up people's blood-brain barrier for what comes next? I mean, you know, it's a war, folks. You know, silent weapons for quiet wars. Well, so many people read the document. So many people read all these documents, but they don't really apply them. They seem like fantasy, but no, folks, all of this technology is real. All the stuff they're rolling out, it's all real. And, you know, people who think this is going to go away and it's going to go back to normal, I mean, you're living in a dream world, folks. Things are not going back to normal. And it's time people prepared for it. You know, as I've been saying, you've got to start taking steps, folks. I mean, we'd like a lot of people to wake up, but, you know, they're not waking up. So as much as we have to continue to try to wake them up, you've got to also face the reality that many of them aren't going to. And so you've got to have a plan B ready for yourself. That's what I've been suggesting to people anyway. And that's certainly what I'm doing. And I'm going to continue to push back. I mean, I won't be wearing a mask. I won't be doing any of this stuff. But we're fully moving into like a Hunger Games reality, folks. They're saying that, you know, they're going to deny services to people who don't get the vaccine. And, you know, the whole concept of mandating a vaccine for a virus which has a 99.9% survival rate should be absolutely ludicrous to anybody able to think. But again, you put the fear into these people, whereby they're scared of everybody else. You know, they see people who are walking along the street towards them, they view them as a big bag of viruses that are getting in their way. What are you doing, Billy? So it's pretty crazy, folks. It's pretty crazy the world we're moving into. And we've got to face the fact that a lot of people simply aren't going to wake up. So you've got to be taking these measures for yourself. And you know, they've done this before, folks. As I've said so many times, history is a lie. History is a lie agreed upon. It's interesting when you look at the photos that you see of cities now, or when they first did the lockdown, how deserted all the cities were. And you look at all the old pictures that we have of prior to the mud flood, or just before or after the mud flood, pictures of St. Petersburg and cities across Europe where they're all empty. And you wonder why there's no people on the streets. It's kind of the same as the situation that we're in now. There's an ant who's about to crawl across the camera screen, I think. But anyway, if you see an insect, folks, it's an ant running around on my camera lens. But they've done this before. And actually, I'm going to leave you with a video clip that I came across, which is an interesting video clip. I'm going to see if I can get this ant off the camera. But it's an interesting video clip. And if you think they're not hiding history, folks, if you think that they don't have technology that they're not telling us about and that they don't suppress information, check out this little clip that I want to leave you with. It's very interesting, and I'll put a link to the website below so you can go and check out a little bit more about this guy. Interesting character. And yeah, I think you'll get a kick out of it. But anyway, folks, just a short report for today. Like I said, I'm flooded in, so I'll see what I can do with the day. And I'll bring you another report in the next day or two. Please take very good care until then. And thank you to all the people who've sent me so many information and so many kind words and so many emails. I'm actually on top of the emails again now, so you can send me some more emails now if you like. It's all good. I do urge people to sign up to the Crow House newsletter as well. Go to my website and sign up to the newsletter. I don't expect the channel that I'm on to last. I'm actually expecting the internet to get shut down at some stage. I still am expecting it to get shut down. There is talk that the internet will be purged about the same time as the vaccine is rolled out. That during that time, you're going to find thousands of websites and YouTube channels go down, and you're also going to find that people such as myself and anything that is speaking out against anti-vaccines, I would say Robert Kennedy, a lot of people will also be purged from Google search results. So even if you can't find me on YouTube and you can't find me anywhere, if you search my name in Google, you won't find me there either. That's the way they're doing it, folks. And of course, they want everyone to use Google. They don't want anyone to use any other search engines. I think people should be moving right away from Google, right away from YouTube as well. I mean, if my channel does get deleted, my second channel, my backup channel, I don't even know if I'll bother opening another YouTube channel. I mean, what's the point of putting all the effort into it when they're just going to delete the channel anyway? I'll probably just stick to BitChute if the channel goes down. I mean, who knows? I can't predict. Who knows? But I can't see the point of putting all that effort into it when they can just delete it with the click of a mouse. I mean, they deleted, nearly 13 years worth of my work with the click of a mouse already. So chances are they'll do it again. But I am expecting a major purge of both YouTube channels, Facebook accounts, Twitter accounts, possibly even LinkedIn accounts. I've already been deleted from Spotify and iTunes, so I'm on a place now called iHeartRadio as well. You'll find a link below if you are looking for Surviving the Matrix, just podcasts, just MP3s. There is a guy who is uploading to iHeart for me now, so you can get the MP3s there. But yeah, folks, I am expecting a major purge, so I recommend that you sign up to the newsletter. We will keep in touch. And, I don't like to be a harbinger of disaster, and I don't like to be bringing people negative information and be seen as a fearmonger or anything like that. But by the same token, folks, we've got to face facts. We've got to face reality. There's a war going on here. Silent weapons for quiet wars. The politicians are not your friends. It's like the guy said, the Irish guy at the start of the video. It's like these people are aliens. It's like these people are a different species. The politicians and the government are not our friends. They're about to depopulate the world. The method they're going to use to do it is starvation, and that should be obvious to everybody just through the breakdown of the supply chains, the way it's happening.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are plowing under vegetable crops from coast to coast. We are euthanizing millions of chickens. We are aborting sows and burying feeder pigs. We are dumping milk by the hundreds of thousands of gallons, and now they are preparing us to depopulate the fat cattle ready to harvest because of a bottleneck created by the effects of COVID. This thing hasn't been created by COVID, but the effects of COVID and the logistics therein. We are in trouble. Our food supply is in trouble.
Yeah, there's a war going on, folks. A psychological warfare. You know, the amount of damage this is doing to people psychologically is profound. And as I've said so often, it's about the vaccine. The whole thing is about the response. It's not about the pandemic at all. It's about the response to the pandemic. The response is what they need. The pandemic is just there to trigger the response. It's all about the vaccination. You know, they want the vaccination, folks. And in fact, they're even worried that the virus may be disappearing too quickly for the vaccination to actually be meaningful. Think about that, folks. They're worried that the virus is disappearing before their vaccination is ready and how damaging that may be. Now, you can't make this stuff up. You really can't. The politicians and the government are not our friends. You know, and they'll just withdraw. They'll go to their underground bases or whatever, and they'll just leave us to their own devices. They could just do that, go underground, come up a year later. What's the world going to look like? So, yeah. I'd like to be bringing you some positive stuff. I'd like to be getting back to history. But I'm going to touch on that now anyway. Like I said, I'm going to show you this video clip that I want to show you, which you can probably show to a few people if they're arguing that they hide things from us. Show them the little clip that I'm going to put on at the end here. But anyway, folks, I keep giving these false endings. I say that's the end, and then I keep talking. But I am really ending now. I will bring you another report soon. There's so much information coming in, it's hard to keep up with. It's hard to even know what to talk about. There's so much coming in. And I'll look forward to speaking to you again soon. Please stay safe, stay strong, stay positive. No stake in the outcome, folks. You can't be too worried about the future. As I've often said to people, there's nothing to fear about the impending collapse of this slavery system. You know, a lot of people won't make it through. That's their choice to wear masks and their choice to not know the truth. Ignorance truly is a choice these days, folks. There's so much information out there. If people are not prepared to look at it, well, that's their problem, unfortunately. We have tried all we can. We've done our best, and we continue to do our best, and we will continue to do our best. But by the same token, have a plan B, look after yourself, and be prepared for what's coming. But again, folks, no stake in the outcome. If you're going to get worried and stressed about it, well, you've already lost. And I see nothing to fear from any of this. I think it's just all the more interesting. We all knew it was going to happen anyway, and it certainly is interesting. Look, Billy's doing a little dance here for you, folks. He's very proud of his display. It's only a little display. He's only 3. And look, Speckles is doing one as well. Speckles doesn't have any display at all. Speckles is only 6 months old. Billy's only 3, and he's very proud of his little display, which is a tiny little display. He's not going to turn around and show us. Maybe he is. Billy. Billy. Are you going to turn around for us? Or are you going to put it down and turn around? But he's very proud of it anyway. But that's it for me, folks. I will look forward to speaking to you again soon. Please take very good care until then. And enjoy this little clip at the end here. And think about some of the things that we just don't know about history. Please take care until I talk to you next time, folks. In Lakesh.
A man named Grebennikov from Russia. Grebennikov was kind of a non-conventional scientist. He was an entomologist, did a lot of work with bugs, entomology. And his favorite thing was to go out into the steppes of Russia and into the various outer hinterlands and camp out in the summers and study his favorite subject. And on one of these expeditions, he started seeing some weird effects. This is all explained in great detail on the AchilleNet site if you type in Grebennikov and his flying box or gravity platform. But anyhow, the result of this was to show that he found a certain bug that didn't fly, it levitated. And this was, he'd put this bug into a little vial or something, and he saw this vial jumping up off the lab table, jumping up and down. And of course this is patently impossible based on any type of normal physics. So he got into this, and he found out that the bug wings themselves were creating an anti-gravity phenomena under certain conditions. And of course what we have here, if you analyze, I think I found the bug, actually a beetle. And if you analyze this bug structure, you see a hexagonal pyramid structure array throughout the entire bottom wing of this bug. Turns out that beetles have two wings. The top wing is called a wing cover, and what the beetle does is it lifts this wing cover up, and then it flips out its lower wings, or inner wings. Now the bug cover protects the inner wings, but when it gets excited or something, it flips these other wings out, and it flaps these other wings, and the inner wings flap a little, and this beetle goes gyrating around. They can't fly very good, but they sure levitate great, I guess. And anyway, he took a whole bunch of these bug wings, and he glued them to like a Venetia blind structure, and he put it into a little platform he built. So they were all, these bug wings were all covered in here. And he used I theorize he used the wing covers as well as the inner wing itself. There's also a kind of a handlebar on this thing with some controls. You can see the thing a little better here in detail. The controls, I think, had to be manipulated continuously and probably vibrated to create the same action that the bug was doing. There was also down at the base some kind of a lever, which I suspect controlled the amount of lift he was getting out of this thing. Anyway, Grebennikov claimed that he could fly this thing or levitate it, and it would go around at almost 1,000 miles an hour. Now you ask, how can that happen? You know, well, he said that there was an energy field that built up around this thing due to this gravity field building up in the platform, and by this thing building up, it built out a force field that basically surrounded him and protected him from the local environment. So even though he was flying at 1,000 miles an hour, you could go, you know, you could be wearing your Sunday best suit and not get it flutter a bit at 1,000 miles an hour. I'm not sure I'd want to stand on something going 1,000 miles an hour that's 2 feet square. But this picture here shows him sitting on the ground. And these pictures are much better if you get on the AchilleNet site. This is the platform with him on it about 3 to 6 feet above the ground, because here's the shadow here down below. Now you could say this is all faked, but if you get into the other things he did with shape, they almost mirror the stuff that I discovered, and it proves, I guess, that there's either two crazy people in the world, or there's two people that have found the same discoveries. So I think that this is a valid phenomenon, and I'll show you why. Next slide is a micrograph that I took of a beetle inner wing. This is at 100x. If you look closely at this thing, you can see rows of bumps all along the bottom of this wing, and each row is staggered from the next row next to it, and this is all over the surface of the bottom of the wing. Now, I don't know of any aerodynamic surface that has bumps all over the bottom to help it fly better. If you blow this up to 430x, you can start to see some of this microstructure of the cells that form where these bumps are. The next slide at 970x, you start to see what these bumps that stick up are. They're hairs, look like hairs or fibers that grow out of the center of these hexagonal cells. And of course, this harkens back to my basic shape power discovery, is that each one of these, because of their shape going down to a point, is creating a magnetic field. And remember, a magnetic field is a rotating piece of vortex in each.